Welcome to this edition of SKNIS Week in Review, a program highlighting the top stories of the work of the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for the past week. Here's a look at some of the highlights for the week of May 21st to 27, 2021. Government takes immediate steps to contain the spread of COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccinations hit a record. Government protects the income of workers placed in quarantine or isolation. And current public infrastructure projects near completion. I am your presenter, Sharima Matthew. In an effort to contain the spread of the COVID-19 virus in St. Kitts and Nevis, the government took immediate steps, including a curfew that was imposed from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. daily for 14 days in the first instance from May 25th. Prime Minister Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris, during his address to the nation on May 25th, noted that the recommendations were accepted by Cabinet from local health professionals.
The number of passengers and public transportation, that is buses and ferries, will be reduced to 50% of the established capacity. This is to facilitate physical distancing and a resultant reduction in the risk of transmission of the deadly virus. Thirdly, strict adherence to non-pharmaceutical measures, that is, mask wearing, sanitizing, and physical and social distancing, must be observed in the public and at places of business and worship. Remember, your personal responsibility in this fight is of utmost importance.
All contact sports are suspended for the next 2 weeks. Absolutely no mass events will be allowed, as these could be super spreader events. Funerals must adhere to COVID-19 protocols and be mindful of capacity in the church. Surveillance and extended contact tracing will continue. Effective May 29, 2021, only fully vaccinated travelers will be allowed entry into St. Kitts and Nevis until further notice. Exemptions will be considered for citizens and residents. Additionally, PM Harris noted that schools will remain closed for 2 weeks in the first instance to facilitate contact tracing, testing, and other necessary precautions consistent with the COVID-19 Prevention and Control Act. Parents are advised to keep children safely at home. No local examinations will be administered during this period of school closure. The Ministry of Education has already begun to engage CXC to discuss alternative arrangements for any examinations scheduled during this time. Students, teachers, and parents will be subsequently informed of the relevant decisions taken by CXC. Teachers will engage students from grades 3 and higher via the established online modality of MS Teams. Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. The Honorable Timothy Harris, reported that 1,062 doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine were administered in a single day, the most jabs ever taken in a day since the rollout of the vaccination program on February 22nd of this year.
Today, we have had the largest number of doses of vaccine administered for the year so far since we have started our vaccination rollout. I'm advised that today we administered 1,062 doses. This is again the largest number of doses that has been administered since we have started the rollout of the program.
The records from May 25th revealed that 725 persons received their first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. In St. Kitts, 67 persons took their first shot at St. Peter's Health Center, 35 at Molineux, 94 at Bastia, 157 at Newtown, 10 at St. Paul's, 13 at Sandy Point, 26 at Old Road, 10 at Tabernacle, 48 at Keyon, 8 at Deer Bay, 10 at Sadler's, and 29 at Cajola Cristada. In Nevis, 144 persons received their first shot at Charlestown Health Center, 53 at Brown Hill, and 21 at Combermere. Those receiving their second dose totaled 337 for a total of 1,062. Equally important, Prime Minister Harris noted that St. Kitts and Nevis has crossed the halfway mark in vaccinating more than 50% of the target population. The National COVID-19 Task Force has outlined a two-pronged approach to dealing with persons who have been placed in self or home quarantine as a result of the latest cases of COVID-19 in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
So those persons who have been asked to stay at home or quarantine, self-quarantine at home, we're going to have a two-pronged approach to monitoring and surveilling these individuals. One, there will be roll call, periodic roll call that will be done by the compliance officers. And two, there will be periodic visits by the compliance officers in collaboration with the police officers within that district to ensure that individuals who have been asked to quarantine at home or self-quarantine at home are at home. If you're not at home, you will risk having to be taken to a government-designated facility, and then the law will be applied to you.
Superintendent of Police Cromwell Henry reminded the general public that it is an offense to disregard any directive given by the Chief Medical Officer. He added that anyone found to be in breach of the protocols will be dealt with by the law. The government of St. Kitts and Nevis is introducing new measures to protect workers who are placed in quarantine or isolation from losing their income during their time away from work due to the local exposure to COVID-19. Minister of Labour, the Honourable Wendy Phipps, noted that the Ministry of Labour is working closely with the Legal Department to ensure that the necessary protections are applicable to the Social Security Act and they fall in line with the provisions of the Quarantine Act, the Public Health Act, and the COVID-19 Control and Prevention Act.
If an individual is away from work by order of being ill or by a state authority, then that person is to be considered as being out of the realm of work, decent work that they would normally have. And then when we take into account the Social Security Act, especially that particular portion, the section escapes me now, but it speaks to the payment of sickness benefit. That particular part of the legislation also speaks to that as well. The fact is that once someone is in quarantine or isolation, as long as they're being gainfully employed and covered under the Social Security Act by virtue of being registered and by virtue of having regular contributions being paid in by the employer on his or her behalf, that person's period of quarantine and isolation will be considered to that extent.
The Minister of Labour called on employers to tap into their humanity and their own regard for public health regulations and not penalize employees who are away from work due to quarantine or isolation as directed by health authorities due to local transmission. During the May 25th edition of Leadership Matters, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, William Vincent Hodge, stated that the current situation in schools in relation to COVID-19 virus requires parents to get vaccinated in an effort to stop the spread of the deadly virus.
COVID-19 is in our schools. Teachers, students, ancillary staff are contracting the virus. Some are in quarantine. We as adults, parents, teachers, must leverage the resources at our disposal to stop the spread of this deadly virus. Let me be straightforward here. Parents and teachers must be vaccinated. We have a moral and God-given responsibility to protect the children that God has given to us.
Mr. Hodge noted that the Ministry of Education continues its comprehensive vaccination education program to educate more parents and teachers about the importance and benefits of vaccination, as well as availing themselves to answer any questions persons may have related to the issue. The Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis joined the global community to observe Public Works Week, which ran from May 23rd to 29th under the theme Working Together to Serve You Better. Minister responsible for Public Infrastructure, Post and Urban Development, the Honorable Sean Richards, commented on the theme, noting that it was timely and appropriate.
Working Together to Serve You Better as the theme for the 2021 Public Works Week challenges us as a ministry, department and citizens of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis to think about the role public works plays in creating a great place to live. By working together, the impact citizens and public works professionals can have on their communities is magnified and results in the ability to accomplish goals once thought unattainable. The Public Works Department strives to be a testament to this theme and seeks the public's indulgence to work hand in hand with us. The department does not work as an independent entity. We believe that for a project to be successful and fit for its purpose, the involvement or working together with our stakeholders is paramount.
The week opened with a church service at the Christian Life Assembly on May 23rd. Other activities included staff development training, an appearance on the radio program Working for You, and a health walk throughout Bastia. Other activities were either cancelled or postponed to reduce the risk of any COVID-19 transmission. Minister of Public Infrastructure, Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards, said several current projects undertaken by the ministry, including Phase 2 of the traffic light project, as well as the paving of the Old Road, Bay Road, are expected to be completed by the end of May 2021.
The Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Post and Urban Development is continuing with the Phase 2 installation of traffic signals throughout St. Kitts. The Public Works Department has identified 7 areas and the new traffic lights have been installed. This federally funded project is aligned with the department's mission to rebuild a resilient roadway infrastructure. It is an extension of Phase 1 as the volume of vehicles continues to increase on our roads. Phase 1 of the installation of the traffic signal was completed in January 2018. Phase 2 of the traffic light project is expected to be completed by May 31st, 2021.
Minister Richards further stated that the Public Works Department is also involved in the supervision of several other infrastructural projects which are either ongoing or are in an advanced stage of planning. These include, but are not limited to, the construction of the new Bastia High School, the construction of the Ministry of Sustainable Development headquarters at Lime Keel, and the completion of the new National Security Facility, the new Police Training School. Thanks for viewing SKNIS Week in Review. I am Sherima Matthew. See you next week as we continue to update you, the general public, on what's happening in and around the Federation.